Why, hello there, Exile. Welcome to my endgame build guide for Guardian Carrion Golem. For those of you new to the channel, I played Carrion Golem for about 4 leagues, starting in Harvest and made content over that, and then GGG nerfed it 4 to 5 times back to back, basically yeeting the build out of existence, and no one really plays it. But not today. Today, we are bringing Carrion Golem back. Now this bossy montage is quite long, and I do realize this, but I thought about cutting it, and then I ultimately decided a lot of people haven't done this content, and they're gonna ask me, can I do XYZ thing anyways, so we're just gonna leave it in, and as a compromise, I'll talk over it, and we'll give you some timestamps. So you can skip it if you want, but then you're going to miss me explaining the builds, and I mean, do you really want to do that? Plus, I have such a lovely voice. So why did I decide to be a Guardian? Well, there's the new jewels that allow you to take on another ascendancy. And one of the issues that I've always had with Guardian, with minions, is my minions keep dying. We can get around that by grabbing the consecrated ground that's improved and it persists. So we're grabbing that so that I put consecrated ground down, then I recall my minions into it, and then they have insane regen for about 4 seconds. This also lets us go low life and get both life and energy shield regen. The basic idea is to make a build where I could be up close and personal with my minions right in there. And then there's these new boot implicits from the new mods that allow us to put down brittle. So we can just put brittle everywhere. And this allows our minions to get an extra 5% base crit. So I actually can close to crit cap them. And then I can use crit multi to double their damage where that's usually not possible. So we're using Power Charge and Frenzy Charge monkeys to get that. And for those of you who don't know, Power Charges are super buffed on minions and monsters. They actually give 200% increased crit chance per Power Charge, whereas on a player, they only give 40%. Now for this build, we're doing mostly lightning damage. Lightning damage? That's kind of weird. Well, it's because we're using Doriani's prototype to basically lower the resists of all the enemies that are nearby us. Nearby us, in this case, means about 30-40 M. Nearby, that's an interesting thing. GGG sometimes calls that 10 M or 20 M or 30 M or 40 M. You don't know. Nearby means nothing. Hopefully they will change that at some point. Anyways, we have high negative resist. Enemies then have high negative resist. Now, negative resist, how are we going to deal with that? Well, it also has a property on there that says, well, lightning damage works with your armor. So we're also using really high armor, such that we're getting really, really good mitigation from lightning damage from our armor on hits. And then that synergizes well with Aegis Aurora, and then it synergizes really well with Molten Shell. So we're stacking armor with it. We have good resists in the non-lightning area, which is very, very good for us, makes us very tanky. Now, there is a weakness in this build. Well, there's actually 2 weaknesses that I found through my playtesting. I want to be open in front that this build does actually have some weaknesses. So lightning dots. What I realized, and you'll see later in it, the Shaper Beam apparently has a lightning dot component. I did not know this. I thought it was all cold and fizz. So that sucks. So Shaper, Uber Elder, and Feared, they all kind of are crappy to do. Now I was able to do Shaper and Uber Elder. It was just a bit of a struggle. Now, it's not like it's completely unavoidable. I just am bad at the game, and sometimes I eat beams to the face, and then it like insta-deletes you. Because you're taking double damage normally, and the normal damage for the beam is 7,500, so you actually take 15,000 damage in 1 second. And so just don't hit the beam, okay? But you'll see that I actually was able to do both Shaper and Uber Elder in this. Oh my gosh, why does this take so long? Oh, funny thing, if you let Zaina die, then she doesn't give you the shield, and then you actually have to juke and jive the bullet hell, and yeah, we don't want to do that. So what you're going to see here is the beam. When he does that, then you don't do what I just did there, okay? You don't do that, okay? Because then you die, all right? So, all right, here's the bullet hell that she protects us from if she's alive. If otherwise, then you got to run around. And actually, Lighty did a video where he dodged the entire thing. You just sidestep the beam like that when he gives the animation, and you don't be super sluggish like you'll see that I am later. All right, we're on to the final, and I ate the beam. All right, back to this. Takes forever. Why is it so long? And now at this point, I'm pretty darn terrified of the beam, okay? Because I've already died to it several times. One time intentionally, and then I move out of there. What? Let's see that again. So, this is a thing that still happens. They've had this fight for a very long time. They can't fix it, and sometimes they have artifacts when you come back in. There's still spells going on. It just doesn't render. All right, now we're on to the Sirus fight. Pretty easy Sirus fight, honestly. You transition him very, very quickly. You'll see that he's not even going to do his big beam phase thing for the most part. It's pretty straightforward. One other weakness that we have is Fizz taken as Chaos. And that came up in Simulacrum at the very late levels. And we just do not have enough life, even with Chaos Res, to handle that mob. Because they do way too much Fizz damage, and then you're taking basically like 4,000 Chaos damage or something. So I couldn't do Wave 30 Simulacrum, which I originally hoped that I could do on this because of that. And then there's also Eater of World minions that potentially give you a lightning dot. And because of that, and there's no good way to mitigate that, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and just do this guy, the flame guy. Take Soul of Aberrath for unaffected by burning ground. So this one, funny story, I kind of just zoned out and watched my golems here, and then I forgot that I was actually doing a boss. And right here, I just ate that, not even on purpose. I just forgot what I was doing. So I apparently cannot face tank that. That's what we learned. That's what we learned. Now what you'll realize, or I realized here, if you suck at this part, you just let your minions take it. Look at this. The minions, they're like fire extinguishers. Look at this. Little fire extinguishers. Yeah, they just take care of this for you. You have to worry. Isn't that awesome? I didn't know this. I did not know this. But yeah, anyways, the boss is pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Just run out during the supercharge up. He can't really hurt you otherwise. Even in the flame area, he just your minions just tank it. So it's kind of a joke. Kind of a joke fight. You pay attention to that one mechanic. All right. Okay, now derp moment there. I thought he was doing the AoE explosion. Oh, nice. All right, on to the next boss. Now this guy, he's kind of a joke for us. He can't actually kill us with a slam thing. You kind of can play like a complete moron and still do this fight. And I even have vulnerability, which is pretty funny. So we just run through and get the orbs. Oh, by the way, I should note, I ran out of skill sockets, so I'm not even using Assassin Mark, but Assassin Mark is a huge damage boost. So what I could do is reforge with Harvest resists on my boots, and then what I could do is put Purity of Ice in a ring that has a socket in it, so I could use the Melakai's Artifice, and then I would have significantly more single target for these bosses. All right, now we're on to the Uber Elder with Shaper, and yeah, this one's pretty yikes. And I messed up again here, and I put Maven on it when I didn't want to. But you definitely gotta be very careful of that beam and his balls and stuff. He's kind of a dick. Okay, so I'm very paranoid about the beam here, and so I actually run out of there because I was so worried about the beam. And then I just eat the Elder thing. Oh, I made so many mistakes in these. Okay, I'm a little bit rusty at bossing. Okay, I like mapping more than I like bossing. Sometimes I get in moods where I boss, but like early in the league and stuff, I'll do bossing, and then I don't do bossing other than outside these showcases. Now you would think after I've killed these bosses like so many hundreds of times that I'd be good at them, but no, I'm still bad. I'm still bad at these bosses. Kind of sad, really. I get disappointed sometimes at how bad I am. So now I'm super paranoid about eating that. And yeah, so I mean, this one, you just basically go in a circle, pick a direction, and then you just want to stay in the outer area is the trick to this fight, and then just run in circles. That's the trick overall to doing this fight. You always want to keep track of where they are. Something like that with the Maven is exactly why you do not want to put the Maven with the double beam. Yeah, ouch. But we can do it. It's just very softcore-ish, and that is going to cost us multiple portals, right? And we just ate that to the face. I'm surprised we can't tank that, because we have really good cold res, but I don't know. And we have Aegis, and we didn't block it, despite having decent spell block. Kind of got unlucky there, I suppose. Alright, so yeah, run in circles, run in circles, run in circles. A lot of people struggle with this fight, that's the trick. Just run in circles around it, do the loop. Okay, pay very close attention when he does the beam. Fight's almost done. And our damage is quite high, right? Look how long that took when there's no immunity involved. And like I said, we still have the assassin mark that we can add with those swaps. And that would be quite a bit more damage. We can add some other specters, but I just went with 2 of each of the monkeys, 2 of the hosts, 2 of the Carnage Chieftain. I don't think I needed to do all this fancy stuff. You can do fancy stuff. And then now we're on to the final thing, which I'm going to showcase, which is basically Maven. And I hate this fight, and I can't do the memory game. It's really bad for the memory game, especially with the minions, and they block, and then I can't see anything, and I hate this fight. But you know what fight I hate more? The Sirus fight. I do not like this fight. I think it's well done. I think I'm just bad. But the Sirus fight, I think that fight is crap. I think it's bullshit, and I cannot see what's going on in the fight. This one I think is a good, well-designed fight. I just don't like the memory game thing. Alright, so there I just dashed through so that I can get my brittle. Yeah, now we have the fun part of trying to remember what we're doing. Alright, it's only 3. We got him. But this performs pretty well even on this fight, too. With the degens and stuff, you don't really have to worry about a whole lot, it seems. Outside of... Oh, I just took the laser. Alright, so I took the laser that you're not supposed to take to the face. We are just plowing through this boss fight. Just plowing through. Plowing through. So this one's similar ideas for almost any boss fight. Usually you run in circles and then you win, right? So you want them to target where you're not, and then they will cast their ability, and you just run in the circle. Run in the circle. Run in the circle. Circles OP. Circles OP. Focus up. Okay, focus up. Ah, I messed up! Okay, we got it. We got it. We got it. We got there. I actually do like this fight. Outside of the memory thing. I do think it's very well choreographed, like attacks that you could dodge and stuff like that. I like stuff like this. More so than things that feel really unfair. Hey, we have good boss damage. See guys, we have good boss damage. Okay, I just hit the thing. So when you hit that beam, what happens is that you cannot regen, which that's why my energy shield was frozen until the debuff, and I just hit another one. And I'm screwed. I'm completely screwed. I couldn't see what's going on with my minion. So what you do is you just log in, and then you stay there in your invulnerability phase until it goes off, and then you just then you kill it. Okay, so you just skip the mazes. If you have 2 mazes, you just do that twice, and it'll cost you 2 portals. The rest of the fight is not that bad, as long as you're not standing in the degens. And let's see. Come on, give us some good loots. Give us some good loots, and we got. Okay, now we're on to the Maven invitations. So a lot of people can't do these fights. They're kind of a joke for us for the most part. As long as we're not standing and stuff, you just kind of run in a circle. We're seeing a theme here, right? You run in a circle, you stay nearby, you dash, you put your brittle down, and you just run in a circle. Are they dead? Oh, okay, like you guy. All right. See, that wasn't too bad at all. It was kind of a joke. All right, this is how the build is supposed to work, without the weaknesses. You know, it's really unfortunate that those 2 weaknesses kind of exist. Otherwise, it's a really solid, pleasant build to play. Really smooth mapper too. Just play the fire and grab the immunity to burning ground, and you're gonna have a really, really good time. And then for this fight, I mean, there are some things you definitely don't want to tank to the face, like the explosion on that guy. You don't want to take that. It's gonna kill you. And you can see on this one, despite my regen and everything, some of my minions died on this fight. It's really annoying. I don't know why my Carrion Golem died. I don't know why they put the less multiplier to minion health on when you use minion damage, but they did. But here is the Elderslayers now. And this one's kind of a joke too, which is kind of funny. And part of this is because we have high block. We're using Aegis Aurora, so we're getting energy shield back. So any non-chaos damage when we're taking hits, we're just getting all of our energy shield right back. And then we also have the regen, so easy peasy. Ooh. Now let's take a look at the gear. Now, one of the things that beginners especially always overlook is the flasks. Copy what I did with flasks. It's very, very important. It's very important to get some level of shock immunity and be able to manage your ailments. Especially like bleed is a big time killer, and so are curses. But consecrated ground actually reduces the effect of curses. So if we use a flask to increase or reduce the effect as well, curses don't even do anything to us. So I'm using a flask here. You can get this regenerate 3% of life per second from an unveil from doing the mastermind on betrayal, or just buy one with that mod. I have this auto set up so that whenever all these are automatically set up to go off on full and get charges back whenever I'm hit. So this will drop consecrated ground. This is just in case I run out of mana or forget to drop purifying flame, that it will drop this and auto trigger the ascendancy for everything. Then I have reduced effect to curses with some more armor, and then I'm kind of I always could use more chaos res. So that's why we're using this, and we're using increased armor, which you're gonna want somewhere. We're just using when it's full, and it gives chaos res. Then I'm using fire res and a cold res. Now, these flasks give 20% less taken of that damage type, which is very good, because when you're dealing with pen, you definitely want that. And you also want to be overcapped on res when you're doing crazy content that will apply certain debuffs that'll reduce your resists. So I like to grab immunity and chill immune during the flask, and then I also like to grab a bleeding corrupted blood during flask effect. Now I put it on these 2 flasks for a very specific reason. These are longer flasks. I highly recommend you get these since they have less duration on these longer flasks. You put it on something like this or these, then you're gonna have really, really short flasks. You do not want to do that. Put them on these. But anyways, copy my flask setup. You're gonna want to do that. I mean, obviously you could swap some of these around, but you need this flask setup or you're gonna die a lot more than I did. And there you go, James, why am I dying? You're building shit. Well, you didn't follow what I said. Okay. So let's look at gear. So I bought this scepter just with the +1, and then I was able to get it with resonators. There's a resonator combo, and then I multi-modded that. Let me know in the comment section if you want to know actually how I crafted this, and I can tell you instead of you buying an overpriced one for 40x. So I bought it for 8x, and then it cost me a total of 13x to make. I did not spend 40x on this. Now, there are ways to craft this helm. I didn't want to do it. I don't know the exact steps. I think Ghazi has some tutorials on how to craft a helm like this. It's a pain in the ass. I just bought it like this. It cost me 20x. This Ashes of the Stars, very, very important because it gives you increased reservation efficiency of skills. Now, it doesn't say mana efficiency, it says efficiency. That helps us for the life because we're actually reserving things on our life. And we're also grabbing on the skill tree, I'm going to bounce around a little bit here, this increased life reservation efficiency of skills. And then there's these that give generic efficiency as well. So with that combination, that's why we still have some life. Then I also have corrupted on some of these jewels, this 2% to give us a little bit more. You'll have to play with it and figure out how much you need to actually have mana. See, I only have 48 mana on reserve. You can actually use a level 3 Enlighten instead, or a level 4 instead of a level 3. I use level 3 with +1 on the gloves. You can use a level 4 instead, and then you might not have to actually have those corruptions on the jewels, but you're gonna have to play with that in Path of Build. Okay, so the gloves, we're using this to convert our damage mostly to lightning, but you'll see here, I have a little bit of cold because I have 1 green socket. And I did this out of choice because I like my minions freezing things. It helps add a defensive layer and when they're chilling things. So that's like a James choice. You could figure out a way and use all blue gems in here, and then you would do a little bit more damage. I don't think it's worth it. Then we're using a Venter's Gamble, and you want to grab one with very high negative lightning resist. What a lot of people don't know is if you use the quality catalysts for resist, it'll lower the negative. So you'll want to do that such that it gives you even more minus lightning. Now, one of the things that I was talking about is you could use a second one of these Malachai's Artifice to get a skill socket, and then I would put Purity of Ice in here. What this thing says, it gives you resist based on the gem color. So you cannot put a blue gem in here because it'll give you lightning res, it'll ruin the whole build. So I would put a green gem in here or a red gem in here, but I already have a red gem in there, so I'd likely put the green gem in there. And then I'd be able to add Assassin Mark, and I'd get a massive boost to damage with Assassin Mark. Then we're just using a belt that has high res, and then we're grabbing Taunt and some res and some life and energy shield on a jewel for our minions, so our minions taunt. If our minions taunt, then that means that we take 10% less damage from those monsters, so it helps us live. Then our boots, we just have really high res. We got grab some dex here because we're dex starved, and then you want to get life regeneration rate and the brittle ground, and then you can at any time just shield charge like that. It's going to leave brittle ground behind you. You just run around with your minions right in the mix. Then we have Aegis Aurora, and this is used to give us energy shield based on our armor, and we have pretty high armor, so we're getting our entire energy shield back because we have 44,000, and then when we pop our flask we have 50,000. And that's kind of all there is to the gear pieces. This is very, very important to get a high quality of all skills as well, because it's adding cool things to our alternate quality gems. So gem wise, we are using Anomalous Arrogance here, which gives us increased life reservation efficiency. And then we have some alternate quality gems, for instance here on our Animate Guardian. This gives 86% increased minion maximum life. Very important, so our Animate Guardian doesn't die. We don't want to re-equip him. Then we're using we're using Ray Zombie, and see, we get 50% life from this because of the ashes. And then we have Anomalous Ray Spectre, and we're getting increased maximum life because of the Ashes of Stars and the quality as well. So very important for some of those. Then Purifying Flame. This makes it such that enemies on our consecrated ground have 12% increased damage taken. Now I'm not sure if this actually then gets multiplied by the 50% increased due to the Pious Path, I think it's called. Doesn't actually tell us, does it? Can't see it in here, but we have this Pious Path that says 50% increased affected consecrated ground. I don't know if it applies to that more multiplier or not. I'd love to know if someone actually knows that. Couldn't find a document in it. anyways, then we're just use Phantasmal Smite. This is another important one. It's giving us a ton of increase in attack speed, and then that is multiplied additionally by our aura effect, so it's giving a huge boost in damage. Now, I'm not using Offering this build because I pretty much I'm just out of sockets. Oh, and then another thing is I'm using Hatred. Haste is actually better, and you can use Vol Haste, but then I would need more Dex, so if I had one more skill point or something like that, then okay, I can pick up the Dex that's right here, and then I can use that again, but I just went with Hatred just because of the Dex requirement. You can use either. So just, I don't think I peeped all my jewels or my gems, but you're going to probably take the POB anyways. So in the helm though, I have Summon, Carrion Golem, increased crit damage, and that's because we have the high crit because of the power charges from the minions and the brittle. Then we're using multi-strike and elemental damage with attacks. This is also giving them elemental reflect immunity. Now we are using this Divergent Tempest Shield, which actually gives 31% chance to block while holding a shield. And then we have pretty solid spell block, and we did not opt to go for Glancing Blows because our spell block and block are quite high because of this ascendancy already. So then we have the jewels that we're using. So we're using this Thread of Hope here to get minus 20 res because we want really high minus res for our Doriani's prototype. And then we're also using these new jewels to give us that Pious Path. And then we are using Golem jewels. And these are super cheap because no one's playing Golems right now. So I was able to get a bunch of these with these increased reservation efficiency of skills. We have that one. And then I have a Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you. It's really annoying to deal with Corrupted Blood. You want some jewel to have this somewhere. See all of these reservation efficiency of skills, and then this one has reservation efficiency of skills, and then we get to the point where we have this Melding of Flesh, and this gives us minus 80, and it also gives elemental resists are capped by your highest maximum, and that's why we're able to get to 86 fire res here. Because cold res, we get 5 from this, and then some from Purity of Ice, which pushes us to 86, and it makes the same cap for our fire res. Also, just noting here, when we have our flask popped, right, we have pretty solid chaos res now. We have 53 with the flask up. So all around, we're pretty solid, and it's a pretty tanky build, pretty fun to play. Playstyle wise, you put down your Purifying Flame, and then you just charge through it. You have your Convocation on left click, so it just auto goes off all the time, and that's pretty much all there is to it. When you face hard enemies, you smite. That's it. Real simple play style. You have a cast when damage taken Molten Shell, so you don't have to worry about that. Then you add an Assassin Mark later if you wanted to take the build even to the next level. But overall, very fun build to play. You want to make sure that you kill all the bandits. And then for Pantheons, I'm running the Flame Guys. It's way overtuned. You want to grab the Soul of Aberrath with this unaffected by burning ground, or you're going to get wrecked. If you're using freeze immune flask, you might not have to use Soul of the Brine King. Most of you will probably just want to use Soul of the Brine King though. And then Soul of Aracali is always a good choice. This gives us further chaos res of damage over time and reduced damage over time taken, so I'm just using that in combination with Soul of Aberrath.